Happy Halloween, everybody. So, happy Halloween, everybody. So, some of you may not know me, but I am Storm's less popular cousin, Bad Weather. And I am here this Halloween to read you a chapter from Andre L. Bradley's debut novel, Trailer Park Prince, a contemporary science fantasy novel about a group of humanoid aliens who comes crashing down on the American South, and how their world and the lives of humans are changed. The story revolves around twin brothers Noan and Jormon, both who have tremendous superpowers and who have to make decisions about how to use them. Nope. I can't hardly see. Uh, so I'm back, Cyclops this time, talking again about Trailer Park Prince, a tale of two alien brothers who comes crashing onto Earth along with thousands of their people, and forced to make tough decisions about how to use their superpowers to save their kind and blend in with humanity. I would note that this book is set 10 years after their arrival, and it just so happens to be a crucial election year where an ultra conservative American presidential candidate looks like the likely victor, which triggers a series of events that lead these kids to where they are in the story. I'm going to read some of chapter 16. And because this is pretty deep into the book, I'm not going to read the entire chapter because I don't want to give any spoilers, but I do want to give you a sense of some of what these folks are facing. Okay, so Cyclops glasses, you have to come off now. So I need to pause for a minute and give a little bit of background. So one, this part of the story takes place after the group of friends, the Kaydans, have had quite a fun experience, which led to something terrible happening. They are currently waiting at the trailer park, but no one is using his powers to project, to cast his mind as well as the minds of his friends to the scene that takes place beside the lake. So that's thing one. Thing two, content warnings. This chapter, I realize every time I start reading I forget how heavy it is, but it involves violence, it involves guns, it involves mentions of Christianity and religious figures. So if any of that bothers you, stop now, read the book, skip this chapter. But for those who want to stick it out, here you go. This particular chapter is told through Noan's POV. The girl was dead. Her little face was blue around the mouth and puffy all over. Her lips had turned a purplish brown like two earthworms resting atop clotted cream. Her head tilted back at an impossible angle, allowing her eyes to rest in a lifeless stare at the rock formation hiding the entrance to our underwater pastime. It was an accusation from beyond the grave, if there ever was such a thing. The crowd cared little about the dead girl. They looked just past her body at the man with a sandy blonde mullet, the two other men in swimming trunks standing at his side, my uncle on his knees in front of them, and at last, perhaps most intently, at the silver revolver jammed against my uncle's temple. Uncle's face had yet to swell, but red indentations under his left eye and along his jawline told me he'd been struck hard by something, most likely the butt of the gun. His bottom lip was split clean in half, and blood ran from it and pooled in his rusty beard before dripping to the grass. Blood matted his hair to one side where it oozed from a thick gash. He stared past the crowd, stoic despite the undeniable pain he suffered. They're gonna kill him, I said. It was as simple as that. My uncle was going to die for something we did, something Jormon did, another victim of the Crown Prince. Can you do something about it? Jormon asked. This is your vision. I don't know how our powers work here. I held up my hand. I didn't know where to begin. What Sahdur could save Uncle before a bullet plunged through his brain? My mind raced past everything I'd ever learned. Phasing would be too slow. A portal would be too obvious, and Uncle would have to get there for it to be useful. Forming a shield so close to Uncle's head would slice off his ear in the best case scenario, or sever the man's hand, making things worse. Attacking the men would provoke a fight, and knowing Southerners like I did, I'd bet they all had a gun or two in their cars. Maybe attacking was the only option. When backed into a corner, when left with choosing to kill or be killed, I had to think about my own survival, my people's survival. I don't know if it will work, but I had to try something. I focused my energy in my gut. If I let it build up and perform a massive release, everyone hit by the blast would go flying back. That was the move. Just as I'd convinced myself it was the right thing to do, Uncle shifted his eyes and they locked on mine. Hey guys, I think Uncle can see us. He's looking right at me. Uncle shook his head, and I knew it meant to stand down. The man with the gun to Uncle's head started talking. We can't stand here all day, Pastor Lumley. You said it all along that these coppers would be the death of us, that they be the death of all of us. Now look at your little Heather. She ain't been in this world long, and already her precious life has been taken from her. He took it. He pulled back the revolver and swung it down so that the handle thudded against Uncle's skull. He toppled over and fresh blood ran like a river down his forehead. I hear you, Mr. Darley, but now's not the place. Pastor Lumley's accent was as thick as his voice was high-pitched. He sounded like a chainsaw revving up. My daughter didn't deserve this, but we ought to be smart about what happens next. We can't be like them. That's how they win, by dragging you down in the filthy gutter with them. We got the Lord on our side, and the law. They won't blame us if we ended him right here. Sheriff Coos would know we was within our rights, well within them. An unsynchronized murmuring of amen filled the silence. But, I'm trying to turn the page with these gloves. But only for a moment. Like the lightning flash that, once gone, makes the darkness even more pronounced. What about little Becky right there, nuzzled up in her mama's arms? How's she gonna feel about seeing you shoot somebody in the head? Mr. Darley looked over at little Becky in the arms of her heavy-set woman in a two-piece bathing suit. If her mama taught her right, she'd know it's doing the Lord's work. This is your daughter, for Christ's sake. You're a man of the cloth. You know it's the right thing. I'm also a man of faith. I trust the Lord has a plan for Heather, just as he has a plan for all of us. Mr. Darley gripped Uncle by his bicep and snatched him back to his knees. He raised the gun again and swung it down even harder. As it cracked against Uncle's skull, he fell over once more. No one in the crowd gasped. I don't even know if I should be reading this chapter on Instagram. Jesus. So here's the deal. That chapter got pretty dark. This story, in fact, can get pretty dark, but it's also very real. When I research for this book, I pulled a lot out of American history and helped it shape a lot of the narrative. And so when I was looking for what part can I read in this book that says fun and Halloween, that shows these teenagers using their powers, it was kind of tough because a lot of the fun stuff is interlaced with very real moments of surviving, of finding finding comfort in each other. And it makes for quite a ride. If there are parts where you will laugh, there are parts where you will cringe, there are parts where they are treated very terribly, but it shapes the way they view the world, and it helps shape their decision making process. The one thing that I will say is that you will love this book. So please go check it out. It is available now where books are sold. Trailer Park Prince, Andre L. Bradley. Oh, I guess I could put these back on. Pew, 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 pew.